It's been a busy year for Governor-General Mary Simon. This spring, she and three of Canada's national Indigenous leaders met with King Charles III ahead of his coronation, discussing the renewed Crown-Indigenous relationship. In the fall, she welcomed President Volodymyr Zelensky to Rideau Hall, where she shared an Inuktitut message of resilience with the Ukrainian leader. And throughout the year, she toured the country, pushing forward her campaign against online hate. I recently sat down with Her Excellency at Rideau Hall to discuss her year and look ahead to the second half of her mandate. Governor General, thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
When we last spoke, you shared with me some pretty difficult examples of abusive language you'd faced online. Has it gotten any better as the year comes to an end, or am I hopelessly naive in hoping social media can improve?
Well, I'm not sure you're naive, but it's a difficult process, and the online messages continue, although we closed off our comment section on our web platforms or social platforms. Mm-hmm. People figure out other ways of getting the message across. So it continues, and since I last spoke to you, I have started talking more publicly about what's going on. And I'm engaging a lot of people in this discussion. It's a long-term issue that I think we need to openly speak about in Canada, because it is affecting people. I mean, adults, children, teenagers, it hits all levels. And we've seen recently, you know, the young boy who died in the Western province, and a year ago an Indigenous girl that was quite young. Right. So, you know, you see these things, and when people do just back away from whatever it is that they're confronting, it's just hidden. So I just felt and have been feeling that it's important to talk to people, that we can work as partners. I recently had a session not long ago, and the tech giants were there, other big partners were there, and after the discussion, they wanted to meet again. So they are concerned, but it's a process, I think, where we just need to figure out where some of those things are that we can do. But one thing that I think we can do as parents and grandparents, and you know, as your age, you all have young children, is to talk to our children, whether you're a grandparent or a parent, just to explain to them that there's good and there's bad on social media. And the bad, you need to try and explain that, and to watch out for things, and to be open to parents about what's going on. And if you can't do that as a young person, find somebody that you trust. So that gives us an opportunity to help support the individual that's going through a difficult period because of this online hate.
You confronted it to try to inspire change, provoke change.
Yes.
And you're still seeing some difficult examples, but I just wonder if throughout this process you've seen some change, or some individuals, moments that have made you feel better about where this is going.
Well, I get lots of messages in a positive sense. Many Canadians always let me know that they appreciate the work that I'm doing, and they're highly supportive of the approach I'm taking. But on social media, I don't think there's been really much change yet. I think this has been a sort of a hidden subject that openly hasn't been discussed a lot, although I suppose some people have really made efforts to do that. But as a country, I mean, this is happening worldwide, but as a country, I think we have a lot of work to do.
In your time in this role, you've transitioned from the Queen's representative to King's representative. And ahead of the coronation in May, you and Canada's national Indigenous leaders met with King Charles. What was that moment like for you?
It was historic, because in the whole history of our relationship, there had never been a meeting of 3 national leaders representing all 3 distinct nations with the king, and this was the first time that there was an opportunity to do that. And it was encouraging to see that the king gave the 3 leaders that time, like a day before his coronation. So of course they were also very busy, but he did take the time to have that discussion. And the discussion was very good. They talked about explaining a lot of the issues that are faced here. The king also talked about his priorities and his passions, and they made a commitment to meet again. So we're going to be organizing another meeting. I think it might be through Zoom or Teams, but at this point we're not sure how it's going to happen, but there's a commitment to do that.
That would be a moment in and of itself, wouldn't it? The Indigenous leaders from here meeting with the king over Zoom.
Yes.
I suspect when you started your work, many years ago, you didn't anticipate a moment like that ever happening.
No, I did not, and it was always face to face, no matter what. There were no such technical tools that we had.
But it sounds like the king is willing to engage further on this, right? On progress towards a renewed and improved and evolved relationship with Indigenous people.
Yes, and we're called Indigenous people, but we're all very distinct in our own way. Inuit are very much engaged in the Crown-Inuit relationship, and the national organization encouraged the king to come north if he comes to Canada, so that he could participate in an Inuit to Crown meeting with the Prime Minister and the King. So we just hope that could happen. For other First Nations and Métis, they have differing views about the Crown relationship with the Crown, but the majority that I speak to want to engage and to improve the relationship. So that's my commitment. That's the commitment that I've made in terms of my role as Governor General, to get people to talk to each other about how you can move things forward. And the relationship with the Crown, in this case King Charles III, is an opportunity for that engagement to take place in a more probably tangible way.
I know there's some criticism from the monarchists here in Canada after you met with the King and suggested that at some point Canada may have to have a conversation of a future without the monarchy or without the royals. Has that in any way affected your relationship with the King? Has your relationship with him evolved since that time?
Nothing, no, it hasn't had a detrimental effect. I've always said that everybody has the right to discuss the future of the country, but I also say that our system right now is strong. We have a very strong supporter in the King, Charles III. He wants to have engaged Canadians and improve the relationship. So that commitment is there, and that they talked about that when the 3 leaders met with him and had the audience. My role is to continue working for what I was appointed for, which is to keep Canada together and to safeguard the constitutional monarchy, because it's working for us, although there are people that think it is not. But we haven't also talked about any alternatives at this point. I think it's working. I'm a big supporter because I'm representing King Charles III, and even if I wasn't, I would still be in this kind of mindset. So it's really important to just you don't even have to people that talk about not wanting the monarchist system haven't told us anything about what alternative there is. Right. And at this point, my position is that we have a strong monarchist government.
Do you think we might see the King come to Canada in 2024? I know this is something a lot of people would be keen to see. Do you think it will happen?
Well, it's hard to say. I think he has a lot of requests to go to the Commonwealth countries and also to other big, huge conferences, which he just spoke at in the climate change conference. His statement was very strong.
It worries me greatly that we remain so dreadfully far off track.
And he's very passionate about the environment and is very concerned about climate change. And he connects with the Indigenous people. I could see that, like they had a lot in common when they talked about climate change, environmental issues, the idea that we should safeguard the nature that we have, and look at the environment in a more holistic way, and not just the devastation, but also protect the areas that are in good shape.
Another notable world figure you spent time with this year was Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. I'm not going to ask you about the visitor in the gallery. I want to ask you about a particular word in his speech.
I had the honor of meeting with the Governor General of Canada. She taught me a word, ayuinata. She said the meaning of this word is don't give up, stay strong against all odds. Ayuinata, Canada. Ayuinata, Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Do you have any sense that it resonated with President Zelensky to the point that he was going to put it in his speech?
I knew the word ayuinata really resonated with him, and he wanted me to explain to him everything about the word. So I did that, and I could tell he took it to heart, but he didn't really say anything else. So when he was speaking in the House of Commons, you know, like I'm watching his speech, and all of a sudden he starts talking about this very important word in our culture. And for him, I think it really touched him because he is never giving up. And that really, like, the word itself really, like, describes him to a T. So he's not the type of leader that is easily giving up.
Since the composition of the House of Commons has changed over the years, and since your appointment as Governor General, we've heard Inuktitut spoken in more official capacities and in the Parliament. What was it like to see a wartime Ukrainian leader speak it on the floor of the House of Commons?
Well, for a person of Inuk, as an Inuk, it brought tears to my eyes because it was so important that the world could hear an Inuktitut word that was so significant in terms of the survival of our people, and continues to be a very important word in our culture. So when the president used that word and described what it meant, it was very, very heartfelt. And I've talked to a lot of people in the North, and you know, they're so like so proud that such a president could have spoken, even if it's only one word, but it was so important to him that he did that.
But it's the meaning of the word, right? And,
yeah, it's the meaning of the word,
that matters so much. And it applies to the work you did before coming into this particular job and the work towards reconciliation. And here we are now, an Inuk woman, you know, holding the position of Governor General. We've just marked the 3rd National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. We're seeing a greater level of awareness on this particular issue. I mean, where do you think Canada is right now on the path to reconciliation as we get near the end of 2023?
Well, I think Canada is experiencing a lot of challenging issues right now, and it's important just to be able to be part of the very different conversations as Governor General. But in terms of my own work, I have traveled across the country talking about what reconciliations means to us as a country, and to give space to those that have been marginalized and not given equal opportunities. And it's important for each of us to get to know each other and to be able to live side by side with respect, without racism. And it's, you know, people think that's a dream, but it can happen. I mean, people have to make the effort. It's a hard conversation. Reconciliation is not about easy issues. Reconciliation is about what happened in our country historically. That's part of the conversation, and how we can move forward with it. And when I was appointed, I was you know, in my mandate, reconciliation between Indigenous peoples and other Canadians was very important in Canada. So I've had a lot of questions from other leaders around the world about what we're doing, because they are interested, because they're engaging in that process at different levels as well. So it's been really I suppose it's kind of the positive, optimistic side of where I'm trying to work towards. And it is challenging, because I know that many Canadians are suffering through all the stuff that we're going through right now. And in the end, I always say each of us has to get up every morning and try to be a positive day for the day, so that physically and mentally we can live as individuals that are happy with ourselves. And I think that's really important, and that goes a long way towards reconciliation.
Just as a final point, you're getting near the midway point, I think, of your term. I mean, as we look forward to a new year, I mean, what are your priorities going to be for the new year and for the rest of your time here at Rideau Hall?
Well, yes, I'm about halfway through my mandate, and we have worked a lot on the issues that I've brought to Rideau Hall, working with Canadians, and we've done a lot of that, and we will continue doing that, because reconciliation is a process. There's no end sight to it. But I want to be able to leave my post with a position that I have entrenched certain views in Canada that will help move the country forward. Even on mental health, it's the same thing. Mental health is a difficult issue. Many Canadians are suffering from mental health because of a lot of it COVID related, but it's not just about COVID, it's about the whole system that we have. I think we have always put a lot of emphasis on our physical health, but not the same kind of priority in terms of our mental health. So we have to have a better balanced approach to the whole thing, because one doesn't work from the other, away from the other. And we need to look at how that is happening in Canada. And it can be like when I work and talk to people in remote regions, like in rural areas, right, not in southern Canada. We have a lot of people working as volunteers, working with young people that are trying to help people that are in a crisis, mental health crisis. And I've met so many women especially that really are working with very little to work with. And in fact, in the north, we don't really have a service for mental health. I was just talking to people up north today, and you know, the crisis situations that they go through as families, there's nowhere to go, except if you're in a big community like Iqaluit, right, or Yellowknife, you know, the big towns in the north, then that hospital service is there. But in terms of traveling psychiatrists and so on, they're very rare. They visit, but they're very rare. So it's really something that I think we need to look at very seriously.
Governor General Mary Simon, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thanks for being here.